So the development of Project Blue, or whatever it will be called in the future, is still in flight. I'm not yet quite ready personally to start diving into like full-on deck techs and stuff like that. However, when I look at the format, there's a couple things I'm very excited about, and I've already started really kind of getting the gears going, not the cogs, to be clear, but getting the gears going. So today what I wanted to do was go through my starting heroes of where I'm going to start looking at and start playing around with once Project Blue becomes formal, official, and where I think I'm going to go in the future. You're watching Budget Format Fab on Dice Commando, your BFF for all things in budget flesh and blood. Coming to you midweek each week, these videos are possible thanks to the support of our channel members. If you want to get involved with the channel and join us on our community Discord, please consider joining as a member. You can be our BFF and show your support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving a comment. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my flesh and blood friends. It's your BFF here on Dice Commando, and thanks for tuning in today where I'm talking about just my own personal feelings of where I think I'm going to end up landing once, once we have a better idea of, the final list and the ban list and all that. But I know who I want to go look at, so that's what we're talking about today. I've got 6 heroes to run past you, and I want to kind of explain really why I want to go into them, other than the fact that I just like the heroes, right? So number 1 is Aurora. Now, obviously, if you've been here, I like Aurora, and I'm a simple man, but Aurora picks up a lot of very interesting things with blue. And by blue, I mean, in this case, with rares being legal. But Lightning Press is not a small deal. And Snatch, not a small deal. And Burn Up Shock, not a small deal. So certainly Aurora doesn't have her specialization, which is perfectly okay, right, with the power level that we're going to, in theory, at least be dealing with. Although I do know Guardians are doing quite well within the Project Blue format, and, having a little go white on them is maybe not the end of the world. But to be clear, I'm not advocating for Arc Lightning to come back. But Lightning Press and Snatch alone with Aurora is pretty brutal. Burn Up Shock alone with, well, not alone, but Burn Up Shock and Lightning Press together is pretty dirty. Lightning Press being a lightning card on its own is pretty dirty. And then we also have Static Shock. This is a card that Aurora's running in CC. That's now legal. Again, works really well with Lightning Press. And then, of course, because it's been good on every single Runeblade that we've talked. Again, last week we went through kind of the best gainers, right? Not necessarily like a meta list or a tier list, but it was the best gainers. Pretty much all the Runeblades had this one on here, and we don't have CLV, but don't matter. Card's still darn good. Still darn good. And again, as we go through this, if you have other rares that you think work with these heroes, let me know. Absolutely, let me know. Number 2 slot for me is going to be Kassai Cintauri Sellsword, as a huge surprise to no one that I want to go look at Kassai. Probably the hero I've played the most in Commoner. Well, I've known pretty well for Bravo, but I do love me my Kassai. But she picks up these 4 cards particularly. I think to be fair, I think these are the only 4 rares I added into my deck. I don't actually know that to be 100% true, but it's pretty. I think it's true. I think it to be true. But run through, oh my god, it's another yellow Blade Runner. It's a rare. Absolutely windmill slam that. Take it on the chin is, well, I was going to say take it on the chin's the biggest win. Slice and Dice is a pretty big win too. Slice and Dice is pretty gross. Oh my god, love it. And then Steelblade Shunt. Steelblade Shunt is a great pickup for Kassai. I always say don't leave home without it. I know a lot of my warrior brethren disagree, but that's in constructed formats. Well, I mean, this is a constructed format, but that's in an unbridled constructed format. Now that we're getting back to more basics, you're going to see more weapons, because that's how it works. Steelblade Shunt, great pickup. You should absolutely be playing it in Kassai. Don't leave home without it. Number 3 is actually Kayo. I'm very excited to check out Kayo. He has some pretty big holdovers with blue, pulping being one of them. I currently, even my sub-optimized Kayo Blitz list, because I don't have all the cards that I need, like Swing Bigs and stuff. But pulping, I'm playing red-yellow. I think I'd play that in blue. I think that makes a lot of sense. Run Roughshard as a rare. Heck yeah. Clash of Agility, plays that in CC, plays that in Blitz. Absolutely. And then Reincarnate's a rare. This one isn't, necessarily like super awesome, but it gets you one more cycle back in the deck for a discard and stuff. I like it. I think Kayo's got some real legs. He doesn't have arms. Heyo! Well, he's got one. Preemptive Heyo, but either way, you get the poor dad joke. But I think Kayo could be really awesome within the format, and I'm going to give him a check out because I think he's going to perform significantly better than Rhinar, but I might end up eating a claw for that statement. All right, next is Dorinthea, because I got to give her a shot, right? But she picks up Warrior's Valor, which is big. She has Taken on the Chin, which we already talked about with Kassai. But she also has a card I'm very interested in, which is Plow Through, right? So the reason I think Plow Through, so to be clear, she has Dauntless as well, but Dauntless makes the reactions cost one more. Remember, with the current banned list, without Sync and Fates, which I don't think that's going to change. I think they're pretty set on those not being in there and trying to go to more specific, like, faction-based reacts. I think Sync and Fate are gone. Whether pummel or not, that's a different conversation. But point is, I don't know that Dauntless carries as much weight as it potentially could given the bans. And I think that's why Plow Through steps up. Right, so Plow Through, what's very interesting about it is that +1 carries, right? So if you front pump Dawnblade, it would carry if they defend with an action card to the next swing, is what I'm saying, right? So that's pretty, because it says your next weapon attack gains +3. And it says if this weapon is defended by an attack, it gets +1. So the +1 carries. So, let's assume you have nothing else. You'd go Plow Through, it'd be Dawnblade for 6, and then Dawnblade for 4, assuming, of course, And my point is, I think you're going to see more of said defending because there's less reactions. That's the logic there. So I'm going to try this one. I think it's interesting. And then Overpower is a phenomenal Dorinthea card. Always has been, almost literally, because it was WTR. So we've got that. Shunt's there as well, towards the previous logic, but Overpower has me more excited in Dorinthea than Shunt does. So this is going to be very interesting to see what she can do. All right, now let's talk Briar. Briar's the only hero I have living legend points with, and she is freaking phenomenal. Now, keep in mind, she doesn't have, CMH, so you don't do... you could do an Earth build, but I believe that post Rosetta, Briar has the stuff needed to do a pretty efficient and amazing hybrid build. So she has Press, she has Snatch, right? Major pickups there. Flourish is your blue Earth card for fusing with stuff like Bramble Spark, which is awesome. It's a non-attack in itself. Of course, she has Sigil, but then you have both Burn Up Shock and Arcane Seed's Life. And I ran out of space on the screen to keep putting stuff that Briar has amazing. Briar has a lot of really great stuff. And again, I think that with, your stuff, you've got Sizzles. Yeah, and a lot of these are commons. That's why they're not on here, right? But you have Bramble Spark. You have Sizzle. Sizzle itself's lightning. Bramble's elemental. It's not Earth. Needs the Earth fuse. But you just start putting this together and you're like, oh man, this actually looks pretty strong. And I actually think that Starfall might be the right, because Rosetta's gone. Rosetta's Thorn's gone. I think Starfall might actually be the right weapon for Briar. But she can always just go the 1-3. This is going to be really hot. And I do think you can do a hybrid build where you're playing both elements, because she picked up a lot of really strong stuff. Again, look at Arcane Seed's Life into they're non-attacks. It's like, nom, 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 nom. Oh, so good. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. And then last, and this one's interesting, but this is, I think people are calling him Flarvo, I think is what people are calling him. But Bravo Flattering Showman. No, he's not out yet. I think the reason I'm dispositioned to him is I think he's going to break common. I still think that. And what's interesting about that is if you actually go look at his crush cards, there's actually not very many crush cards that are rare, that are good. Disable is, there's a couple of them, but they're not really worth playing. One of them's like Tap a Hero, and like currently, I don't remember the name of the card, but it's a preview for Mastery Guardian. But it's like Tap a Hero, and like no one cares about that really quite yet. So maybe in the future we can look to that. But really the only rare that's pseudo relevant is Disable, and Disable being a 5 doesn't work super well with Bravo. So I kind of have it on there as a representation of what it could be. But what's interesting to me is actually the test. So I do have Test of Vigor and Test of Might below, and you're like, well, those aren't good. But remember, we're in a world without Sync and Fate. So we have Test of Sugar, Test of Might. We already had Test of Strength, which is a common. So you run into this very interesting, because the reason I'm interested about this, no, I do not have a build or anything to share yet, right? But the reason I'm interested about this is because Bravo, Flarvo, whatever you all want to call him, really needs to he has to have it in arsenal to do the thing, right? So he needs to kind of push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. And I think the blocks, in terms of a value type thing, seem logical to me. I don't know. We'll see. Something to explore. Obviously, you have Staunch. In all colors. That's probably the biggest pickup. But I do think there's some interesting things just with the sheer number of blocks coming out of this. So we'll see how... I can't think. What's that green Nickelodeon putty? Isn't there something? That's all I think about when I... Anyway. We will see on him. I might be just overly reacting to my own commoner bias on this. So we'll see, and we'll get him tested. But no reason not to, like I said, see what we can put together and test. And who knows, there might be some more, 4-cost or 3-cost crush cards yet to be revealed within the next couple of months. So anyway, that is my list. If I'm going and being honest with you I'm going to start with Aurora because I'm very interested in that. I had put a lot of effort into her in Commoner, and it was just kind of why her over Briar? And to be fair, I think that might still be the argument, but I think you might have enough of a card pool now that they can actually be distinct in their identities. So that's going to be very interesting to look at. And then I think Kassai is just going to get real good. So that's where I'm starting at. I would love to hear your comments below. Let me know who are you thinking you're going to start with, right? Could be your favorite hero. Could be who you think's going to be good. I don't know. Let me know below. And go Commando.